I'd been driving my beat-up Jeep through the foggy hills of Northern California, heading to a friend's cabin for a long weekend. It was late, past midnight, and I'd opted for a winding, forested road to avoid the highway traffic. I always kept a stash of essentials in the back: a flashlight, granola bars, a spare tire. The radio was crackling with static, and the only sound was the hum of the engine as I navigated the misty curves. Then, out of nowhere, the Jeep started rattling deep, grinding noises from the undercarriage. The steering wheel jerked in my hands, and I stomped the brakes, skidding to a stop on the gravel shoulder. I popped the hood, the beam of my flashlight cutting through the fog, but I'm no mechanic. I just stared at the mess of metal and hoses, hoping for a miracle. No smoke, no obvious damage, but when I tried the ignition again, it coughed and died. I checked my phone, no signal. Figures out here in the middle of nowhere. The road was dead silent. No cars, no lights, just trees looming in the gloom. I waited, leaning against the Jeep, the cold seeping into my bones. Hours dragged by, and I started rationing the granola bars, wondering how long I'd be stuck. Finally, headlights pierced the fog, a rusted tow truck rumbling toward me. I waved it down, relief washing over me as it slowed. The driver was a wiry guy with a patchy beard, wearing a stained flannel shirt. I explained the situation, and he nodded, hooking my Jeep up without much talk. But something felt off. His eyes kept darting to the woods, and he asked weird questions. "You alone out here? Nobody knows where you are." Huh. He told me to hop in the cab while he towed the Jeep to a shop not far off. We drove in silence, the fog thickening, until the truck lurched and slowed. He cursed under his breath, muttering about a flat tire. He climbed out, then stuck his head back in and told me to grab the jack from under the seat. Suspicion prickled my spine. I didn't like how he kept glancing at me, or how isolated we were. I slid out, keeping my distance, pretending to fumble with the jack. Then I heard it, the engine revving. The truck lurched forward, tires spitting gravel as he tried to ram me. I dove into the ditch, heart pounding, as he swerved and sped off, my Jeep still hitched to the back. I stumbled through the woods, branches clawing at me, until I found a gas station at dawn. The clerk called a tow for me, but when they found my Jeep abandoned miles away, the driver's seat was smeared with mud, and a single muddy boot was left on the hood. Growing up near the Oregon coast, I had a favorite spot, a weathered wooden bench perched on a cliff overlooking the crashing waves. It was hidden off a narrow trail, surrounded by jagged rocks and wind-twisted pines. I'd go there to sketch, letting the sea air clear my head. One evening, with the sun dipping low and painting the sky orange, I settled in with my sketchpad, the sound of gulls fading as dusk crept in. I was halfway through drawing the horizon when I heard a crunch, boots on gravel. I turned, expecting a hiker, but the trail was empty. Shrugging it off, I kept sketching until the sound came again, closer this time. I stood, peering into the pines, thinking it might be a deer or a fox. The noise stopped, and I sat back down, uneasy but determined to finish. Then, a voice, low and raspy, came from behind me. "Nice picture." I whipped around. A woman stood on the trail holding my sketchpad, which I'd left on the bench. She was older, with tangled gray hair and a crooked grin, wearing a coat that looked like it had been dragged through the mud. "I see you here all the time," she said, her eyes locked on mine. My stomach twisted. She shouldn't have been able to reach the bench without me seeing her approach. I stammered something about needing to head home, but she stepped closer, flipping through my sketches. "You shouldn't come alone," she said, her grin widening. Panic hit me hard. I bolted down the trail, not looking back. When I got home, I locked the door and tried to shake it off. But that night, I woke to a tapping on my window. My heart stopped. Outside, in the moonlight, was my sketchpad, open to a drawing I didn't make. A crude sketch of me, sitting on that bench with a shadowy figure looming behind. I'd taken a summer gig maintaining a lake house in upstate New York. It was a gorgeous old place. Wooden beams, big windows, nestled on the shore. But I stayed in the attic, a cozy setup with a bed, a desk, and a tiny bathroom. The attic had a trapdoor to the main house, always bolted shut from my side, and a small skylight that rattled in the wind. I liked the solitude, spending my nights reading by lantern light. One stormy night, the rain hammering the roof, I was dozing off when I heard a thud, like something heavy shifting below. The main house was empty. I'd locked it up myself after work. I sat up, listening. Another thud, then a faint scraping. I grabbed my lantern and checked the trapdoor. Still bolted. The skylight was secure too, but the noises kept coming, rhythmic, like footsteps pacing the floor beneath me. I convinced myself it was the storm playing tricks, until I heard a low whistle, sharp and deliberate, cutting through the rain. It was coming from inside the house. I crept to the trapdoor, ear pressed against it, and the whistling stopped. Then, a slow creak, the sound of the attic stairs unfolding. I hadn't touched them. They were locked in place. My blood ran cold as I saw the trapdoor's bolt slide back on its own. I yanked it shut, piling books and my chair on top, and stayed awake all night, the lantern flickering. At dawn, the noises stopped. I checked the main house. Empty, untouched except for the back door, wide open despite the deadbolt I'd set. On the porch, dripping wet, was a single fishhook, glinting in the morning light. I quit the job that day. I'd been exploring southern Utah with a buddy, chasing slot canyons and desert vistas. We'd hiked to a remote Overlook, a flat mesa with a killer view of a river snaking through red rock. The trail was unmarked, just a faint path through scrub and sandstone, but we knew it well. That day, the sky was clear and we'd split up to scout different angles for photos. He went left toward a boulder pile, I went right along the rim. I was lining up a shot when I realized it was too quiet. No wind, no birds, not even his footsteps crunching. I called his name, nothing. Figuring he'd wandered off, I backtracked to where we'd split. The boulder path was empty, but I noticed a narrow crack in the rock I'd never seen before, barely wide enough to squeeze through. I yelled again, and this time, his voice echoed back, faint and strained. "Over here!" I wedged into the crack, scraping my arms, and emerged into a hidden ravine. He was there, sitting on a ledge, pale as hell. He said a guy in a ranger hat had appeared out of nowhere, offering to show him a secret viewpoint. The guy led him into the crack, then vanished mid-step. My friend swore he'd heard breathing behind him the whole way out. We laughed it off, nerves, right? And started back. Halfway down the trail, I stopped to tie my shoe. When I looked up, my friend was gone. I spun around, shouting, but the mesa was empty. Then I saw it. My camera, which I'd left by the rim, now sitting in the dirt ahead of me. The screen showed a new photo, me, standing alone, with a blurred figure in a hat watching from the rocks. We hightailed it out, and when we checked his pack later, his knife was missing, replaced with a smooth, river-worn stone.